Okay, this video is a book review. The name of the book is The End of Woman. The author's name is Carrie Gress, End of Woman. And the book was really all about feminism. And in the author's point of view, the author believes that feminism has been very destructive to women. That feminism is basically making women, in a sense, go extinct. The traditional idea of a woman. You know, she's not happy about women playing sports nowadays and getting their butts beat up by men. She's not happy about the fact that lots of women can't find husbands, that there's all kinds of problems amongst women now that didn't used to be as big of a problem. And I think that's correct because, like, I can remember when I was growing up, almost all my friends, their moms and dads were married. It was very rare to have somebody divorced. If there was a divorced house, like when the parents are divorced, that would be the house to have parties because quite often they were poor and the mother had to work. So that meant there was no adult in the house, so teenagers could go there and have a party. So, you know, and also they were wealthy. The women didn't have to work. America used to be much more wealthy in the 1970s than it is now. You know, my mom, as soon as she had her first kid, she never went back to a job the rest of her life, and she was very happy about that. Okay, getting back to feminism, where did it all start? The first sort of official feminist, according to this author, was Mary Wollstonecraft. And then she had a daughter who was very famous, Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, who married Percy Bysshe Shelley, the British romantic poet. She was the author of Frankenstein. And she had another daughter named Fanny Imlay. And what Carrie Gress says is that wherever feminism goes, you see a certain pattern of social disasters. Basically, it comes out of Satanism. It comes out of Satanism going back to Paradise Lost by John Milton with the idea that the devil serpent in the Garden of Eden was the friend of Eve, not the enemy of Eve, that the devil respected her intelligence. Why shouldn't she eat of the apple and obtain an education and knowledge? Okay? So it goes right to Satanism from the beginning and the occult, things like seances and tarot cards and all that sort of stuff. And also it was very anti-Christian right from the beginning. Percy Bysshe Shelley was an aggressive atheist who was kicked out of Oxford. Lord Byron and him were also quite similar. They were friends. And they say wherever feminism is, you have free love. People having sex out of marriage, lots of adultery, and then they have unwanted babies and they abort them. And so you will see there's a tremendous amount of dead babies. It's like feminism is almost like feminism then dead baby. They go together, okay? And you know, it's obvious that a baby is alive. It's growing, okay? It's alive. It's a little person, okay? That's another thing. Feminism loves to train women to want to kill their babies, okay? And you know, typical thing is a woman gets an abortion. She then, you know, gets it, let's say at Planned Parenthood. They'll, you know, or some other abortion place. They auto chop shop the baby into pieces, and then they sell those pieces. They use them to make medication. So this is child sacrifice, and then it is cannibalism because people are going to eat those medicines, okay? That's child sacrifice and cannibalism. We make fun of other societies, but that's what our society is doing right now. Feminism loves to murder babies. They love to normalize the idea that a mother should want to kill her baby, which is really kind of an inversion of usually a mother loves her baby, wants her baby. There's a lot of strange things in feminism. This guy Kinsley, who promoted a lot of the logic of feminism, was a major pedophile doing pedophilia research, okay? Betty Friedan was a member of the Communist Party, and that's not an exception. That's the standard. After World War I, feminism was taken over by the Communist Party. And the communists have a lot of really, they spend tons and tons of money and time on understanding psychology. And the communists have concluded that women are very emotional, which makes them stupid. Because they're emotional, they're easy to control. So the communist attitude is men are difficult to deal with. They want money, they want to be paid off, and you can't get them to budge on a lot of things. But women, oh, you just got to make things emotional, and you can get women to agree with almost anything. So they felt that they needed to have women on their side in order to make the United States into a communist country. And so they started with a system, and the idea was to train the woman to not want to have children, to not want to be a housekeeper, to make her think that being a housekeeper with babies, a housewife, was for lowlifes, for scumbags, white trash, that a real woman wants a career and education to go get a job. Also that husbands were bad, husbands were evil oppressors, that men were just evil in general, toxic masculinity. It's a very important part of feminism to try to get women to hate men. Instead of, traditionally men and women saw each other as partners to help each other, they want women to hate men. But look at the paradox here, that the woman should hate her husband or hate her boyfriend or hate men in general, but not feel that her male boss is an oppressor. Okay, there's something that doesn't quite work there. Okay, communism also strongly wants to get rid of Christianity and to get rid of heterosexual families. It will do anything it can to get rid of Christianity and heterosexual families. That's why communism so strongly promotes homosexuality and lesbianism. It loves lesbianism. I mean, lesbian is wonderful. There's no babies. It doesn't want any babies. And it also doesn't want any men. So in a lesbian relationship, no men, no babies, perfect. Okay, celebrity homosexuals, lesbians, and transgendered persons are very strongly promoted on TV and the internet because they want other people to imitate them. One of the most famous lesbian feminists was Kate Millett, and she said, "Our goal of feminism is to destroy the American family." And a standard motto of feminism is, how can we smash the patriarchy? How can we destroy toxic masculinity? But they never seem to look at the other flip side of that, which is that noble masculinity is actually what makes the country a good place. It's what makes everybody safe. It's what makes institutions have a high quality. When you have an institution that runs on a meritocracy and there's a component of noble masculinity, that's probably going to be a good institution. Once you get rid of all that stuff, good luck. Okay? So the Communist Party sort of tricked women into thinking that it's much better to spend your day at a job rather than spend your day at home, and taking care of babies is for losers. Okay, but I can tell you, like I saw my mother. My mother taught me a lot about life. She's the happiest person I ever saw in my whole life. The thing she wanted most in the world was to be with her children, to be with her family. And gosh, what would I want right now? I wish I could stay home all day and just write my books, okay, rather than have to work all day to make money, provide for my family. Okay, let's see. The communist target for Gino, side. The main thing they want to get rid of is they want to get rid of the, Caucasian, the Christian, the heterosexual men, because they see them as the biggest obstacle to bringing slavery back to society. The number one goal is to return slavery to society, but it's hard to return slavery when you have this type of men saying that they believe, man is created in the image of God, that man should have free speech, the right to property, the right to privacy. Okay, so in order to make sure that there's less of this type of man, they don't want this type of woman having any babies. And the way they can get her to have less babies is, first of all, in health class in high school, they teach them to be promiscuous, putting condoms on bananas. They want them fooling around as much as possible in high school, having abortions, getting venereal disease related scarring in their fallopian tubes, making them into little sleazes so that way they won't be able to maintain a long-term relationship as part of a family. Because what leads to having lots of babies is getting married young, like let's say around 20, 22 years of age, and then just having baby after baby after baby, which is actually not a bad way to go. Now that I'm an old man, I'm going to say, either you don't get married or it's good to get married young. The reason why there's some advantages to getting married young in retrospect is that you have a wide number of females to choose from. The older a man gets, the less females are around that are potentially marriage material, and the more likely you are to be stuck with a limited choice, and that's what happened to me. Anyways, the communists also believe that other ethnic groups are relatively easy to control because there's either not that many of them or it thinks they're stupid and they're easy to control, that they can be bribed or they can be tricked. So it doesn't see them as a major obstacle. It feels that once it gets rid of this ethnic group here, the other ones will be easy to force them into line and to make them do whatever they're told to do. So that's why the current strategy is what it is. All these things you hear about affirmative action, it's not to help other ethnic groups. It's not to help women. It's to destroy this group, okay? Look at the McKinsey program through all these corporations. This is the only group not allowed to be promoted, not allowed to be hired, not allowed to obtain additional education and training. Okay, that's what it's all about, okay? They don't care about minorities. Look, if they cared about minorities, they would promote the best minorities, okay? You don't see anybody promoting the really smart minorities. You see them promoting a lot of puppets. You don't see it. There's no. I'm a minority. I'm a Puerto Rican male. Okay. Nobody ever wants me to do anything. Okay. If it was a meritocracy and they wanted the best for minorities, why wouldn't they promote the most talented, smartest minorities? They don't. That's not what they want. Okay, they want puppets in place to control institutions and to enforce non-meritocracy policies and to feminize society and to reduce the population of the native members. Okay, family is traditionally the unit of society, and lifelong heterosexual monogamy is what holds society together. It's the best thing for kids to have a mother and a father. They get unconditional love from the mama, and they get, objective reality from the father. Okay. What the Communist Party wants is broken homes. They want the children on psychiatric medications for attention deficit and whatever other psych diagnosis they can throw on the poor, pathetic kids. They want the kid, instead of talking to their parents, they want the parents divorced, the mother working, and they want the kid sitting around at school talking to the psychologist, denouncing the parents. And better yet, who knows? Maybe they can send them to, DC, FS, and maybe, traffic, Okay, or they can send the kid, even better. Why not send the kid for gender-affirming surgery? Gender-affirming surgery is a euphemism for castration. Once they do that type of surgery on these kids, they are infertile, okay? They are castrated. They are made infertile, all right? Well, isn't that perfect? Isn't that the original goal, was to stop them, the native population, from having babies, okay? The Communist Party saw that the emotional temper tantrums of women were a great way to destroy families. By making divorce no fault, they could and then by teaching women to hate their husbands and to hate men, it was easy to get them to file for divorce. And also they made sure that the system strongly rewarded them financially. Basically, a woman in a house paid for by the man commits adultery, and then the husband is kicked out of the house, and then the husband has to continue to pay for the house while the woman continues to commit adultery in that house, and the guy has to pay for it. That's basically forcing the man into slavery, okay? Why should he have to pay for a house and for a woman to have sex in the house that he paid for? Okay, that's not fair to the man. And then women will say, oh, yes, it is fair. You know what? Flip it around. How would the woman like it if the man was cheating on her in the house and she had to pay for the house and she had to move out of the house while he's cheating on her in the house and keeping all the children? She would not think that's fair. All you do is turn it around and it's pretty obvious, okay? Now, there's TV shows that are popularized in modern contemporary pop culture, like the TV show called The View. And Carrie Gress describes the hostesses of that show, like Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg. She calls them like the enforcers of feminism, the priestesses of feminism, to enforce conformity. Because she says that women are much more conformist than men are. They care what female celebrities think. They care what other women think. And so she said, by promoting celebrities that are homosexual, lesbian, transgendered, and strongly feminist, they said they get lots of women to go for feminism. Okay, feminism is very popular. It's still very popular with women. But what women don't understand is they've been really pushed down since, let's say, the 1970s. Nowadays, more families are divorced than together. More women have to work. They don't get to stay home all day with their children. When a woman's, 25 years old, it's fun to be at work and talk with her friends and tell stories about, who they had sex with on the weekend. But you know what? When she's 40 years of age, she wishes she was home with her children, okay? But now she can't be home with her children. She's too poor. She has to work, okay? And she used to have a big, happy family. When she got old, those children would take care of her. Now, more and more women, they don't have kids, or they only have one kid. They're estranged from the kid. The kid's far away, and they're by themselves, okay? And they're going to go into their old age. No husband, still working, lonely. A lot of old cat ladies is where things are headed, okay? And also, what feminism ignores some of the reality of women. So basically, yeah, feminism tells women, the men stink, men are abusive, toxic masculinity, your husband's evil, and they have a strange notion. Carrie Gress described it as feminists are trained to hate men, but to want to be like them, because a woman becomes more like a man when she no longer has a baby. That's the unique thing about a woman, is that they have babies, okay? So if she has abortions anytime she's pregnant and she stays on birth control pills or other birth control as much as she can, she works in a job rather than home with kids, she's promiscuous, that's more behaving like men traditionally have behaved. Also, by pushing women to get more education. Oh, we need more women in STEM. We need more women in this field and that field, engineering, etc., computer science, etc. What they're doing is they want these women to stay in school as long as possible, because the longer they stay in school, the fewer children they're likely to have. And the old joke is that the smarter a woman is in school, the stupider she is in biology in terms of having children. I know lots of very nice female doctors. They're nice, they're smart, they're pretty, but they forgot to get married. They forgot to have kids, and now they're in their 40s or 50s, and they're never going to have children. Again, promoting promiscuity makes a woman, incapable of being a good wife. Because basically, if you're looking for a wife and a woman is promiscuous, she's of zero value. Because what a man wants in a wife is somebody that he can have a child with and they can work together as a partnership to raise that child. If she's promiscuous, that means she's likely to sleep with another man and he's going to get stuck raising the child of another man. And he doesn't want that. So a promiscuous woman is of zero value for a wife. And these women are trained to be promiscuous. Also, you need a woman that's loyal to you. They're trained to hate men and not be loyal to a man. So they're basically trained to be very poor options for marriage. And so a man, the modern young guys, I know lots of young guys, and they all tell me the same thing. These women stink. They're a bunch of whores, and, they're not good for being wives. And, I seen my old man get ripped off on divorce and forced into, financial, ethnic, indentured servitude, slavery. So why the hell would I ever get married? They don't want to get married. I repeat, that's the most common thing I hear from young men is getting married for chumps. Okay, so anyways, what else is going on here? Also, early promiscuity leads to infertility because of the infections from venereal disease, scar off the tube. And a typical modern feminist type of woman is like Stevie Nicks, a singer for Fleetwood Mac. She's a great singer, but she had abortions of 4 babies, and then each man, after she aborted his baby, the guy left her, and that's what sort of happens, And then they have things opened up down south, and they're sort of, instead of all these aborted babies, and those women now have, increased risk, of breast cancer. They're now replacing them with others who they think will be easier to control. So it's very easy to stir up women, get them to want to smash the patriarchy, hate toxic masculinity, divorce their husbands. And the reason why that's desired by the Communist Party is it takes money away from men. It feminizes a society. It weakens a society. And, it ignores, all this stuff ignores the reality of women. They're physically weak. A woman has the physical strength of about a boy in 6th grade, maybe 7th grade at the most, okay? She doesn't have the physical strength of a man, so she can't do things that require physical strength like a man has. In addition, only women get pregnant. That's a very unique thing about women. And society used to be kind of designed around that for good reasons. You go back to the Victorian age, it was typical in the 1800s for a woman to have 10 children, like on average, okay, and to nurse them, okay? And men have different personalities. All the stuff about men and women being the same, it is not true. Men are much more workaholic. We don't really give a shit about, being home with the family. Or, don't get me wrong, we love our family, we love seeing them, but we're perfectly happy. I could easily go 2 weeks and never speak to a single person and be absorbed in my books, okay? And computer guys, other tech heads, they're very much interested in machines. Guys love to sit around a car engine and take it apart, put it back together again, and repair it. Okay, they love to, do computer programming and stuff. They're more interested in cars, machines, electronics, and physics and stuff than women are. They just fundamentally are. Women fundamentally are more interested in people. They do have a maternal instinct. Any guy who's been married and had a baby and he's around his wife and grandma and stuff, it becomes pretty obvious that they just have a natural maternal skill at handling babies and young children better than men. Okay, some men get reasonably good at handling children, but we're just not like a woman, okay? We're just not. It's simply a fact, okay? On the other hand, take a look at most of the great scientific achievers, okay? And even now, they're usually workaholic men. And, you can look at like Jordan Peterson. He simply said, men and women are different. They hit the 30s. The woman has a biological clock ticking. The guy doesn't give a rat's ass if he works 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. He really doesn't. But the woman knows her biological clock is ticking and she wants to have a baby and she needs at least a little bit of time for the baby, even if she later works and has the kids raised by a nanny. There is a fundamental, obvious difference. And I can tell you, my wife said something to me many years ago. I was preparing a presentation and I wanted to make it as good as possible. And she scoffed at me. She says, "Why do you put so much time into a stupid presentation? Who cares? No one cares about your stupid presentation. You're just a typical man, always trying to show off, always trying to be a big shot. A woman does not care. She just wants to survive." And so what I got out of that was, I think for a man wants to achieve. A man wants to distinguish himself, in part because if a man does not distinguish himself, he's less likely to reproduce, okay? For a woman, a man just has to be attracted to her. She could have like a lousy personality and everything else, but if he wants to have sex with her, he'll be attracted to her and he'll try to make things work in the relationship. Versus a woman, she's mostly attracted to a man by his status or his money. She likes him to be good looking, but if he's good looking and poor and has no status or money, she's not interested in him. She'll consider him beneath her. So the man has to achieve or he can't reproduce. Okay, so achievement is more important for a man in terms of being able to reproduce than it is to a woman. So anyways, what was the point of this whole book? The whole point of this book is the author is strongly against feminism. She thinks that it's destroying women. She thinks that women are more unhappy than they've ever been before, and she thinks all this destructive behavior is destroying society and making women unhappy, and she's not happy about it herself, and she thinks that society is either going to keep on going into the garbage can or it's going to have a return to religion and traditional heterosexual married families. So that's where her feeling was, and she detailed in meticulous detail, far more than I could cover in this short little view here, all the ways that feminism is satanic and evil and leads to mountains piled high with dead babies. So, anyways, it was an interesting read. I think it was an interesting book. I thought it was a well written book.